Sometimes people think they need to be everywhere all at once, and it's not true. So figuring out what their audience is, who they're trying to go after, and then we come up with a strategic roadmap to set for them. And then the great thing about social media is that we can also add things. So if we're doing really well on one platform and we want to try another platform, we can absolutely do that. And we can pivot.
Welcome everyone to Bucksco Living. My guest today is Amanda O'Connor. Amanda is a former educator, studied in New York at St. John's University, got her master's in Del Val. She's also now the founder of OC Social, where she helps tons of businesses keep their authenticity, make sure that they follow all the right steps to branding on social media and offline as well. So I want to welcome Amanda.
Oh, thank you so much for having me today.
All right. Amanda, thank you for being on the podcast. We were talking off real quick. You told me you grew up in Port Richmond, and then you made your way to Bucks County around 11, 12 years old. What was that like, real quick?
So it was hard. My parents always said that I gave them a lot of flack because I had my friends in the city, and we were the first in my family to move out of the city. Both my parents are from Kensington. They moved next door to Port Richmond, and that's where they were raising my sister and I. We went to Catholic school, and then we moved to the suburbs and started going to public school. So it was a big transition, and I'm somebody who's always been vocal. So I guess I was very vocal with my parents to show my disdain that I wasn't very happy about this. But at the end of the day, it was hands down the best thing my parents could have ever done for my sister and I. And so looking back on it now as an adult, as a mom myself, my parents sacrificed a lot to make sure that we grew up in an area with great schools and had a beautiful property that we got to grow up on. But yeah, it was, as an 11-year-old, it was a tough transition, but I'm happy to be here now.
Yeah, that's like the big time. You know, I have a 10 or 11. He's almost 11 years old, and the attitude is shining right through. So you make your way to Bucks County, then you finish at William Tennant, and then you go to St. John's, where you studied to be an educator. And you were working full time as with a party on the side with a party planner as well.
Yeah, so I worked with an event planner in the city. That was like my weekend job. Being a college kid, she paid really well. So she was paying like $25 an hour for weekends. But then, this is a funny story, but Target was one of her biggest clients. So we were doing like lots of events for Target, and Bullseye, the Target dog, they had this costume that they wanted somebody to wear, but the person had to be under 5 feet, and I'm 4'11". So she used to then pay me $50 an hour as a college kid to dress up like Bullseye, the Target dog, and I'd prance around New York City dressed up like this dog. And it was so much fun. And again, like as a college kid, I was like, $50 an hour, I'm rich. And
Yeah.
I started doing that. And then because I fit into the costume, I became one of her regulars. And I got to work so many cool things. I got to work in a party at the UN. We unveiled the Target dog at Madame Tussauds Wax Museum. And
Oh,
we
wow.
had, oh my God, we shut down 42nd Street, and there were limousines with Rintin and Lassie and these famous dogs all coming out on this red carpet. And so, yeah, I was doing that while going to school to be a teacher.
That's awesome. That's a switch, though, too. So you learned a lot about business from the event planning, but going to school to be an educator. I went to school to be an educator as well, and I don't do
Oh,
that anymore
cool.
either. So, yeah.
Yeah.
But then you go from New York, Queens, hustle and bustle to Del Val, which is, if anyone doesn't know, Del Val is a very agricultural school. They film signs there, which everyone talks about. Like my buddies went there. That's a big switch. So how'd you handle that?
So I had a great experience at Del Val, but I was getting my master's degree in New York, and circumstances changed, and I needed to come back home to Pennsylvania. And so I was halfway through my master's program, and I didn't want to stop. So I started doing some research, and my master's is in educational leadership and to be a principal. And I found that Del Val had an educational leadership program. So it really just was like a perfect fit that they had my master's program. When I reached out to them and I sent them my transcripts, they accepted all of my credits. So I was already halfway
Gotcha.
done my master's, and that was phenomenal that they would take those. And so that's like how I fell into that, because the same thing, I had friends who went there for animal science and things like that, that I would have never expected to have gotten my master's there. But it worked out really nicely that I could take night classes while I was teaching. And I feel like I got a great education in Del Val with the ed leadership program that was there.
That's awesome. I mean, I went to school for history as well. I didn't have the same path
Oh, we
as you
can
with
geek out.
the.
We'll have to do another geek out podcast about history.
Yeah, that will bore everyone to death on that. I already bored my family to death. So, I just
Hmm.
got a little thing from the Constitution Center. It's like a whole video, like game, like a board game
Hmm.
from the. And my kids are already like, it's in the trash. They're like, I'm like, okay, never
Oh,
mind.
no. Yeah,
You'll experience that soon enough. You have two kids, right? You have they're the girl's older.
I do.
She's
They're,
6 or.
no, so I have my little boy just turned 8 the other day, and then
Oh, that's right.
my
That's right.
daughter
Yeah,
will be 10 in July.
10. Yeah, that's
Yep.
right. I mixed them up. So yeah. So
Oh, that's
how's
okay.
that? How's that with now? You're not a teacher. You have more freedom, correct?
So I have a much more flexible schedule, which is nice. So last week I went on a field trip with my kids' school. I was in my daughter's pen class doing cupcake wars. I was able to be one of the parents volunteering for my son's end of the year party. Tomorrow I have her end of the year party. So I just have so much more flexibility to do things with them. Another thing that's really nice that I didn't think I would appreciate, but if I was still teaching, because I taught high school starts so early in the morning, and then elementary school goes to school late, I would have missed the mornings with them. So it's been really a great thing to be able to be home with them. And we live across the street from their elementary school, so we walk.
All
And
right.
so being able to walk to school, because I do feel like now they're getting to the age where they want to hang out with their friends and they want to do certain things, but our walks are where we really connect. And they tell me about their day and they tell me their time to open up to me. So I wouldn't have had that if I was still in the classroom.
That's awesome. You did it for how long? 12 years for a history teacher?
Yeah, about 11. Yeah.
11. So okay.
So I started in
So I mean,
2008 and my last year was 2019.
yeah. So that's a wild ride from 2008 history wise alone, and then
Oh
you
yeah, I
decide,
started teaching before the iPhone.
yeah. So the
Yeah.
whole that's funny. So
Yeah.
it's funny how you segment generations, and again, in our history, in our lives, that we look at the big picture, but in the smaller local, hey,
Mhm.
teenagers getting iPhones, getting and what teachers have to deal with, and the
Mhm.
pressure that they have to deal with, and with these kids now with this new fix, then
Mhm.
you decide to move from teaching to
Mhm.
build your brand with OC Social
Mhm.
in 2019, which
Mhm.
again, which was a rough year going into.
Mhm.
What was that like?
There were a number of different things. The big catalyst for me leaving teaching was my husband got a job in New York City. So we were living out in Westchester because I was teaching in Kennett Square, and he got a job and he did the commute for a little bit, but we had a little kid, we had another baby on the way, and we decided as a family to move up to North Jersey. But one of the things that I was really passionate about was helping authors. So I had two English teacher friends who decided to write books. And then I was able to go with them to book signings. And that's where the idea for OC Social came from, because I was talking to all of these authors and I was like, what are pain points that you have? And they're like, oh my God, the self promotion, having to not only do we work full time and we write at night and do all of that, but promoting a book was really hard. It just took a lot of time. So I was thinking about, oh, I could help in that area. And that's like where I thought about this. So then when we first moved to New Jersey, I took some local classes with some marketing and branding experts that lived up there. And the funny element is that I was essentially looking to start an event planning business, going back
Hmm.
to my college days of working for an event planner. And then COVID hit and like events were dead. And
Hmm.
then but everybody needed social media help. So then I started really getting busy. And then when things started to slow down, like I was like, okay, this social media is taking up so much of my time. I love events and I love putting events together and helping out with all of that. But like with social media, I don't have to work on weekends. I don't have to work nights because all
Hmm.
events, they're every weekend, they're every night. So it was like a happy thing that kind of that element of it fell to the wayside with what happened with COVID. But yeah, that's like how I ended up doing this. And now I like it's amazing. I love it.
Yeah. With your friends and their books, did you ever help them try to get into Target's, aisles with their books, or is
So
that
they
just two separate
actually
things?
did no, they did that all on their own. They were
Okay.
very skilled writers. And so I would go with them to book signings because they are very introverted and I'm not. One of the best compliments I got from a dear friend is that I can make friends in an empty room. And so they would be like get nervous as like this room would fill up with all of these people. So I would be there to, hi, welcome. Have you heard of the author? Have you, do you like these type of stories? And then that would help them engage in conversation with the fans that were there. So then they started selling books and they sold a lot of books and ended up getting published with a big publishing house. So their books are sold in Target and things like that. I've been fortunate in my career, though, that I've been able to leverage social media to help some of my clients. I had one of my clients got a 30-minute interview on the Preston and Steve show to promote his book,
Cool.
which was a really proud moment for me because I'm a huge Preston and Steve fan. And it was an actor who is very well known for the movie Best in Show, and he wrote a memoir.
Oh yeah.
And
He was.
I was sitting in my car, and I'm like, God, how can I help promote Jim's book? And Preston and Steve came on, and I was like, they talk about Best in Show all the time. I'm going to email them. And they did an awesome 25-minute interview with Jim Piddock about his book, and that was super awesome. A very feather in my cap made me feel awesome to do that. I also got another client featured on the Drew Barrymore show as well as on local Fox channels for other clients. So I try to find ways to help my clients not just excel on social media, but also get into other media outlets because not everybody's on social media. And even if they are, it's so flooded with content, you still have to find ways to stand out.
Yeah, obviously that's why I do this. Well, do you see again with books and stuff like that? There's a lot now. Book talk is huge. That's a huge thing, and the Preston and Steve, the radio media, is a whole other world. Do you find it? Do you try to tailor each business that you work with or person that you meet? Do you tailor each one separately, or do you have a game plan each time that's very similar?
No, we specialize for every single client. So what each client needs is we tailor things towards them. Even when we're looking at social media wise, I'll have clients who are like, I need to be on every platform. And I'm like, no, you don't. Sometimes people think they need to be everywhere all at once, and it's not true. So figuring out what their audience is, who they're trying to go after, and then we come up with a strategic roadmap to set for them. And then the great thing about social media is that we can also add things. So if we're doing really well on one platform and we want to try another platform, we can absolutely do that. And we can pivot. We can move things around if we're not getting the engagement that we thought we would get, or if we're not getting the views we thought. We can make adjustments and changes to then see if a new style of content or even just things as how we're tagging a post or the time of day that we're posting, all of those things can matter. And so being flexible to make those changes. But I don't like to niche in one particular area. I'll probably get a lot of flack from other social media people. But I think that when social media people niche in a certain, I only work with realtors or I only work with insurance agents, I find that it makes their content stale. It
Hmm.
just, it'll be like, oh, I work with this particular brand of insurance. And then you see that same post on all of those people's platforms. And it doesn't make anything special. It doesn't bring out any uniqueness for them. So we really try to customize everything so much so that we don't want people to think you've hired us. We wanted people to think that the business is actually doing it themselves. And I
Awesome.
just had one of my clients last week. I was talking to her, and she's, should I give you a shout out when people say your content is amazing? And this, should I say, oh, it's OC Social? I'm like, if you want to, sure. But again, I love the fact that people think that it's authentically her because my one client, she's on video a lot. We film with her. So it is her, but the posting schedule, the editing of the videos, all of that stuff is us. But I want people to see her authenticity shine and come through there and not think that it's just a stale agency that is just producing content for her.
Yeah, you see it all the time. I mean, in the real estate world, they do this one office will do all the same post, and all the realtors or whatever do the same post. And again, I understand they want to flood the
Mm-hmm.
feed or whatever like that, a little bit more of a guerrilla marketing, but everyone's different on that side. Let's shift a little bit back to not only doing OC Social, you did the teaching. You're also now you were on the school board too till 2029.
Hmm.
So
Yep.
what was that? You come back from Jersey, right? You
Hmm.
move back home, I guess. So
Yep.
what was that? I mean, that's a whole other world, especially in Central Bucks. You go from you go from kids teaching the kids to now you're dealing with the parents and the voters and that sort of thing. How's that switch? How's that? How do you handle all that?
So it's definitely like a different side of the coin with what my role is now. One, I'm a very proud CB parent. My husband is a CB graduate. And even when I lived in Bucks County before I lived in Central Bucks always had the reputation of being such a strong school district. And they are, and we are still a very strong school district. There's just been a lot of other things that have made headlines in the last couple of years that my goal is that we get back on talking about how much of a strong district, even just looking at it from a realtor's perspective, there's no inventory in this district. People want to live here and they want to stay here. And one of the driving factors that makes this community so fantastic is our schools. I was watching the school board races a few years ago. I never in a million years would have ever thought I would have run for office, ever. Especially like 5, 10 years ago. I was somebody who always like, I like to be comfortable. Running for office makes you very uncomfortable, makes you vulnerable. You have to put yourself out there. You have to be open to criticism. I don't have a very thick skin, so that was something that I was like really nervous about. But when I saw that there was an opening, I know I have my strong education background, but I'm also a smart business owner. And I see that I have to make smart decisions for the district, but also for the community. We have to be stewards of taxpayer dollars and smartly allocate those. And we have to then also make sure that we're setting our kids up for success in this new world with AI and the balance of technology. We talked about a few minutes ago how I started teaching before the iPhone existed, and now every kid has this supercomputer in their pocket, and the challenges that come with children and social media and all of that. And so when it was, should I run for this? It was like, I am smart and I can put kids first, and I'm willing with my flexible schedule to put the work into it. Actually, today, after we're chatting here, I am going to visit my last of the 23 schools. And that was one of my goals by the end of this first year is I wanted to step foot in every single building because what Barkley Elementary School needs is very different than Cold Spring, which is different than Buckingham and Jamison and all of this. And without being there, I just have to go off of my own judgment or bias of what I think about that area. But stepping foot in there and making the connections with the students, the parents, and the teachers has really opened my eyes to how beautiful our district is, how diverse it is, and makes me so much more passionate about wanting to represent them well and do well by our kids and our teachers and our taxpayers and things like that.
Nice. Do you give tips to each school for their social media as well, like on their side? Like, I know because like my boys' schools have two different social medias in two different schools, and it's clearly night and day difference. Do you ever give little tips about hey, do this or that, or
I don't. We do talk with our communication staff on things that we want highlighted and communicated out. But I feel like I'm still learning so much that I don't know if I'm ready to give that out anything because I just want to learn what is being done. How do they do things? And make sure that when I do have something to share, that it'll actually be useful and helpful. And it's not just, oh, I was elected, now do as I say kind of thing. So not yet, but maybe one day we'll get there.
Well, that's a teacher in you too, because you're
Hmm.
always learning.
Hmm.
That's, that's the gift inside of being a teacher. You're always learning a little bit more. You don't always know the material. You always, evolving until you get a tenure. Now, you're also part
Absolutely.
of the BNI and the Chamber of Commerce. You've helped them out.
Hmm.
You helped out BNI with the hack, correct?
Hmm.
That was a big
Oh,
thing.
what hack?
Was
Wait,
this
what
the hack?
hack?
Oh, I
I don't
apologize.
think
That
that's
was
okay.
Doylestown. Wasn't it they
I
hacked or
am
something
in
like that?
BNI, yes.
I thought their social media
There
was
was,
hacked when.
I don't think their social media was hacked. I do know that
Uh,
last week we got like one of those things went out where it was like it looked like a text message from our president went
yeah.
out to a lot of the group. And then luckily, so we have a cybersecurity person in our group and
Okay.
he jumped in and stepped in and helped them with
Okay,
that.
that's what I was reading about. So
Okay.
again, just I was reading the notes about
Hmm.
it. So we'll skip that part. But and are you still doing book clubs too, or
I do. So I run the Doylestown Moms Book Club. I actually have a really good friend who is helping me with that because I got a little busy. So I was like, everybody's, what book are we reading this month, Amanda? And I'm like, so she steps in and, but yeah, we do that. We meet the second Thursday of every month. So I have book club this week. And that was it was like a organic thing that came out. But when I moved back to this area, I kept in touch with my friends that I was friends with from high school, but a lot of them don't live around here anymore. So then when I was thinking like, oh, I have to make new friends around here, I'm like, what do women my age do? Oh, we read books. So I saw someone post in the Doylestown Moms Facebook group about, hey, are there any book clubs here? And I just wrote, I'd actually started a book club where I lived in Maplewood, New Jersey, and our first meeting was scheduled for the day the world shut down in March of
oh,
2020.
March? Oh my God.
Yeah. So it that just fell apart. But I'd done like the organizing in the beginning to get that started. So I said, hey, I'd love to join a book club. If there is nothing, like I'm happy to help get it off the ground. And yeah, we've now, this August will be our fifth year that
That's
we've been
awesome.
meeting. Yeah, our Facebook group has 50 people, but we get about a dozen that come about every month. But it's
What are you
fun.
reading
We've
right now?
done like we are reading right now Margot's Got Money Troubles, which is a
Okay.
show that's on I think it's
Yeah,
on
yeah,
Hulu or
yeah,
Prime. Yeah.
yeah. Fanning. What's her name? Um,
Yes, Elle Fanning.
Elle Fanning.
And
Yes.
I think Nick Offerman
Offerman's the dad or
from
something like
Parks
that.
and
Yeah,
Rec. Yes. Yeah,
yeah.
so he's
I
in
I
it.
didn't see that yet.
Yeah.
So
So I
yeah,
haven't watched
I
the
think
show yet. But yeah,
you're gonna
that's what
read the
we're
book
reading for
first,
this
right?
month. I am, and I'm the worst book club runner. I bought the book and then I also just downloaded it in an audiobook and I'm going to listen in at 2x and I'll finish it when I pull into the parking lot for
Ho-
that's how
ho-
I am with that stuff.
Hold up, hold up. How fast do you listen to your Audible?
Oh, on like 2x. I'm like, look,
I
that's what
can't.
I
I
can
can't.
do. Yeah.
That's pretty awesome. I'm an Audible guy. My wife is a
Yeah.
book. I don't think she's read that one yet, but the same thing. She
Okay.
hasn't. She hasn't read Heated Rivalry yet. She hasn't. I think
I haven't read
she read.
that.
She read The
I
Housemaid
watched the
right
show.
before. Yeah, she read Heated. Watched read The Housemaid right before she went and saw the movie. But she's the book. Me, she reads 40 a year, or while
Mhm.
I'm reading one at a time. Mine's a little bit different.
Yeah.
Yours is a little bit. Mine's Dodger Carla Carl, which is a whole other world, and but
Yeah.
God bless you on that one. My question though is that with the social media aspect, do you ever incorporate any of your authors into the book club that like that you're friends with?
So we have read some of the books that I worked on, or also just personal favorites of mine that are not super well known or popular. And then I have not had a chance to meet her yet, but a few of the book club women have met an author named Joy Piazza, who is
Okay.
from the area, and she's written the first book we read by her was called The Sicilian Inheritance, which was awesome. And then her second book actually was really cool too for my realm because it deals with social media. It was called Everyone is Lying to You, and it was about the trad wife trend that's happening on social media. And it talked all about the facade of how these women make it look easy. And then in the background, there's nannies and camera crews and all of this. Yes, she's making Oreo cookies from scratch, but at the same time, she has a whole team of people behind her putting that all together. So that was a really cool mix of worlds, of my work world and just getting to read worlds. And then she has another book that's coming out. So we just picked that for our September book. And Joy Piazza, the author, has offered that she will Zoom into book clubs. So we're hoping that
Oh,
we'll be
right.
able to get her to come into our September book club and join us for the conversation.
Nice. A friend of mine
Hmm.
is an author. She's around here, Lydia Michaels. Hers
Okay.
is a little bit more romance and stuff like that too. Not my cup of tea, but she's killing it. She's amazing at it. And again,
That's awesome.
higher levels. We'll get back to the podcast in just a second, but I just want to tell you about what I do. I've been a licensed realtor in Bucks County for the past 20 years. I serve Bucks County, Montgomery County, Philadelphia, New Jersey, all over the place. And I also have helped out hundreds of families buy, sell, and invest in real estate. So if that's something that you're interested in doing, don't hesitate to call me. Reach out, DM me, whatever you need to do, and let's start working together. All right, now we'll be back to the podcast. With that, do you ever see the businesses, the people that you deal with, what kind of mistakes do you see that most people are making right now?
So I would say there's a few. One of them is I've worked with a lot of startups in my career, and oftentimes startups or even small businesses when they're first starting, everybody gets so obsessed with whatever the product is that they forget that there's all the other elements of running a business. And I totally get it, because if you're a baker, your passion is baking. Your passion is not marketing. Your passion is not bookkeeping. Your passion is not managing employees, because you do So I think leaning into like knowing your strengths and weaknesses, and then also being willing to admit what you're weak in, and then leaning into somebody else who's talented in that area is a one way to avoid those mistakes. When it comes to social media, and this really breaks my heart, but it's happened to me more times than I can count, which is I'll come into a business. I had this happen to me recently. I went in, I was working with a business, and our numbers were great. Things, we were killing it and all of that stuff. And they were like, hey, like, we really like what we were doing. This is not about you, but we've just hired a new girl to work at the front desk, and she says she knows social media. And so, since we're already paying her and we don't have to pay her extra to do it, we're just going to have her do it. And listen, I get it. I know economics wise, and I get all of that, but you can tell a difference. And
Yeah.
not leaning into somebody who's got a skill and a talent and just thinking that anybody can run. Oh, the girl at the front desk can do this. Like, because she doesn't know your business goals. Like, one of the things that I do with clients is I sit down with them and I talk about, where do you want to be by the end of the year? And I think this is where like my teaching background and lesson planning comes in, because when somebody tells me their end goal, I don't then, and we're at the beginning over here, I don't start creating content here. I work backwards. So if our end goal is here, all right, let's create the content backwards to get us to a starting place. But then we can see how we were going to get there. And that's the
Right.
same thing I would do with lesson planning. If I'm teaching, what are the core things that I need my students to know about World War II? All right, this is where I need them to get. Let's work backwards so I can get them there. And so I use a lot of those same techniques when it comes to social media. But again, I understand finances. So for businesses that do, I offer a coaching program. So again, getting to use my teaching skills, I will go in and I will coach your office staff. I will go in and coach a business owner on how to do social media. They're never going to do it the way that we do it, but at least give them a leg up to avoid some of those common mistakes, so
Hmm.
that your time is valuable. And I want to make sure that when they're investing their time in something, that at least they're doing it productively, and not just, holy crap, it's 4:55. I haven't posted anything today. Let me just throw something up and hope it sticks, because it never sticks.
Yeah. Do you give them homework as well?
Oh, yeah.
Your clients?
Yep. Yep.
That's awesome.
So we'll meet, like when I do coaching, it's a 5-hour program. And then I build for them an entire strategic roadmap. So I essentially create for them a unit plan, and I give that to them. And then in between our 5-hour sessions, they have homework that they need to do. so that when we come back the next time, we can review that, see how it went, and then we can also add on to what's next. I did before I ran for office last year, I was teaching social media courses in Doylestown,
Oh,
which was really fun. And I hope to get back to that. It was just
were you
something I
doing that
kind
at
of just didn't
college
have.
or?
I, no, I was just doing it at the Coterie Commons, which is like
Okay.
a space that's in Doylestown
Yeah.
that you can rent. They also host like workshops and things there. They're really fascinating people if you can get in touch with them. Emily, who is the owner of the Board Housewife, she is in there, which is a wonderful, she makes the most beautiful charcuterie boards. And then there's Taylor, who's a photographer. They own that space, and then you could rent it out for different events and things. And so I was hosting my social media workshops there, and people were coming in. I would, for an hour and a half workshop, I would target it on specific things. So I did one on how to run Facebook ads or meta ads and the way in which you do it. And then also we did one on content. I think I did a social media 101. So I would do things like that.
That's awesome. I as a realtor have no clue. I mean, I try my hardest, but when it first came out, I still look back at stuff where I comment on my Facebook like Anthony Pinto is, doing, like when Facebook was born, it's like is gonna
Yep.
go watch, I mean that the horror stories of where it was looking back. You look back on your past business from 2019. What do you see OC Social doing in the next 5 years?
Oh my God, that's a great question. I would love to see us continue to work with small businesses that are unique to our area. I I was working with some businesses that were luckily in this industry I can work with anybody because everything's digital and I can work remotely and things like that. But post COVID, seeing a lot of local small businesses go out of business
Yeah.
was really hard to see because that's what makes us unique and that's what makes our community special. And so I would really love to continue to work in that area. I'd love to grow our team more. So right now we have like an amazing group of people who work with us and I would love to continue to grow that team. So that's another thing that I would love to see us do. And then I'm interested to see how social media will grow in this AI space. I think right now, I think AI is fascinating and we use AI in a variety of different things. But for me personally, I think for social media, the AI stuff should be in the background and that should be your operations. But like for a business, especially ones that have humans behind it, like I want to see authentically them come through,
Hmm.
not an AI bot. That's where I think, at least for us, that's where we're integrating AI and how we're using it. But more and more social media, it's just like hard to tell like what's real and what's fake. But so I'll be interested to see where that goes in the next, I shouldn't even say next couple of years, like within the next year, because it's coming.
Yeah. Yeah, the AI slop is getting out of hand. And you
Oh,
see
yeah.
it more and more. And it's like, I don't look like that. They don't look like the house doesn't look like that. What do you think? And again, you're in the Dorset area. What do you think is the most Instagrammable area for you? What do you feel like picture perfect, most noteworthy?
God, that's a great question. I don't think I've ever thought of that. Even just thinking as like a history nerd, like I love some of the spots, thinking about the corner of Ferry and Main in
Hmm.
New Hope and thinking about revolutionary so again, I'm a history nerd. Thinking about how the Revolutionary War soldiers would come off the river and be there. Like that spot holds so much history that I think that's a really cool spot there. Also, too, there's a lot of really unique gardens in Doylestown and little alleyways. I think one of them is actually called like Garden Street or Garden Court. My husband and I go because we're crazy with like kids and life and stuff. We go on what we call our morning dates. So every day we drop the kids to school and then we go on a date somewhere. And it normally is we go right to Doylestown, we get our coffee, and then we'll just walk the borough. And we find these little alleyways and things like that that the people who live there keep their gardens meticulously beautiful. And they're just like really cool little alleyways. And I think that those areas are really good Instagrammable spots because they're unique and you don't find those things. I live in a more planned development when my neighborhood was built. So there's not like those little unique things when you turn the corner. But when you go into areas that have older homes, you get that more like in Doylestown.
Nice. What's your go-to coffee spot in Doylestown?
Oh God, I'm gonna get slaughtered for this. I'm a
All
Starbucks
right.
girl.
I like,
Um,
yeah, that's fine. You're allowed to be.
well, and it's only so I don't drink coffee, so that's another thing. I'm a tea girl, but I
Okay.
drink iced tea. So I have my drink right here, my Arnold Palmer that I get every day. But my husband loves Native,
Yeah.
and then if we go to Native, I can destroy one of their pork roll and cheese sandwiches. Like,
Nice.
oh my God, there's nothing better than it. So I will get food there, but then I also get
Gotta get
my
your Starbucks.
drink
I
from
get it's
Starbucks.
fine.
I'm
It's
so
fine.
sorry.
It's okay. It's
Yeah.
not a problem. Do you now talk about trends? The dot
Mhm.
cake trend. Like,
So I've seen it.
have you tried it
It's
yet?
funny. I have not tried it yet, but yesterday we had my son's eighth birthday party, and there's a local baker who lives right here. She actually lives down the street from me here. She's called Bucks County Buttercream,
Hmm.
and I'll destroy that cake. But I saw a review that it's very hard, like that those dots
Yeah.
on top of it. The one trend that I'm trying to figure out, like how to strategically get my family to go to this, but there's a bagel shop that opened in Ardmore, and I think it's called Schmear. And
Yeah.
it's where they give you a whole hot bagel and then the thing of like cream cheese or jam or whatever, and then you just
Yeah.
rip it off. I
Yeah.
want that.
Yeah. That's big in
Um,
New York right now.
yes,
The pop-ups
exactly.
of
And
Schmear. Yeah.
so that's one. Yeah.
As a parent, I just get
But I
like
have also,
anxiety of messing it up.
oh, you can't go without the kid. I guess my kids are old enough now that we could go with them, but I've also definitely, I've no shame to say that I've definitely been like duped by social media things. I did a couple of videos where I ordered these, what I thought were these beautiful mums. The commercial, the ad got me. And it was like these mums, you literally take them out of the box and you put them in your planter and it looks beautiful. And they showed up and they sent me two twigs. And I was like, okay, great. And there was something else that I bought too. They were supposed to be like 18 inches of wooden Christmas trees. They were about this big when they arrived. And I was like, I don't even know like how I ordered these. I think I did it through Instagram shops. I didn't have an email receipt. I was like, whatever, this is my own fault for getting duped with those ads and trends and
Yeah.
things like that. But I get when I see a restaurant, I've definitely gone to eat in the last 2 weeks at places because of social media where I'm like, I need to have that.
Yeah.
Just haven't
My
done the dot cake yet.
my cousins have Baco. The cheese wheel is the big. That's the draw.
Mm.
So that's the social media. The cheese
Oh
wheel is like
yeah.
an event. So every time to do the
Hmm.
pasta and the cheese wheel. What do you think? What do you think would be a fun trend for the school board to do?
Oh God.
This is the fun
I don't
part.
know
This
because
is the
yeah, I don't know if anybody wants to hear from us. I think that's the thing that like, but I don't know. We could probably do. I know this is one that I've done with clients before, and I think it's cute. Where we did one of with one of my clients, where it's you say so I'll just do we're Central Bucks School District, of course we, and then it's have students. We just had students win huge financial awards out at a STEM conference in Phoenix. A way that we as a board could then highlight the students and highlight our teachers. We have a teacher over at Warwick Elementary School who's been teaching since 1974 and she just loves it and is so incredibly passionate about it. And so things like that, I think would be a really cool way to then highlight the uniqueness and the things that are going on here. Because I think everybody sees the big celebrities on social media and they see all of this stuff. But I love the uniqueness of regular, everyday people. And that to me, my new favorite follow on social media right now is this gentleman. He's probably in his late 60s, early 70s in Texas. And he is just driving around trying foods he would have never tried before. And
oh,
he's
I seen
following
him.
me along. I'm going to have Afghanistani food today. I'm going to have Jamaican food. I'm going to have Filipino food. And he goes in and he talks to the restaurant owner and he's like, I've never eaten your cuisine before. What should I have? And I am sucked in. Because
Yeah.
that to me is just, I don't need to see another Bethany Frankel. I don't need to see any more of these big name celebrities because when they're doing it. Oh, I just bring up Bethany Frankel because she also just ate the dot cakes, but she also has this thing where she's all about finding the best chicken salad. And it's, dude, somebody sent you that and they're paying you $10,000 to make this video. But
Yeah.
when this older gentleman is doing it, it's just him being authentic. And that's things I really like. And that sucks me in. So I could watch my husband's, oh, what did he eat today? And I'm like, oh my God, you'll never guess what he had. So those stories are like really cool.
Awesome. I mean, I like him too. I follow him, and it's like kind of like an Anthony Bourdain type of thing, but without the
Mm-hmm.
crudeness. But he's actually trying the food.
Mm-hmm.
He's opening up to new worlds and all that stuff.
Yep.
So one last little thing before we end this: what is your advice going forward to the small entrepreneurs, the small businesses going into the second half of 2026? What do you think is the best advice for, hey, how do you end your 2026 strong to build into 2027 as a small business, a content creator, as a, again, realtor, whatever? What do you see that you think is the best advice, the small advice for them, the free one?
Mm-hmm. So going back to what we talked about earlier is I am never not learning. And in a way, I constantly feel like I have imposter syndrome because I don't know enough. So I'm always trying to learn and keep myself in the know with things. And then another big advice that I have is for so long, I was so afraid to be uncomfortable, whether it was to run for office or whether it was to start a new career. I probably would have I would have done it more on the side instead of a full-fledged business earlier if I trusted myself. And I was afraid to be uncomfortable. But I feel like sometimes we get the second I stepped out of my comfort zone, I was like, no, I need to go back into my shell. And if you try to do something that makes you feel uncomfortable. And the other thing when it comes to social media is I've worked with a lot of people who have come up to me and they're like, look at this person. I want to be them on social media. And the first thing I do is I start scrolling and I go all the way to the very bottom of their Instagram. And I'm like, okay, their first post was in 2012. So they've been at this for a long time. So we're not like, they think that sometimes the misconception is, oh, I'll post like a few things and then I'll have all of these hundreds of thousands of followers. And I want people to remember that you have to start somewhere. And if you're so worried about, oh, I need the right lighting or I need the right this, I need the right camera, I need all of these things, you just have to put it out there. And yeah, your first couple of videos might look raw and you might stumble over your words. And even me, I'm like a bumbling idiot sometimes. And I'm like, blah, blah, blah. But like you put it out there and then you learn and you grow and you get better at it and you get better at it. And then the powerful thing is too, like I could go clean those other ones up where if your first one is really like terrible, you can get rid of it. But I think that one of my favorite people who writes like self-help books, and she wrote a book that was I read right in the beginning of starting my business. She will every now and then post one of her early videos up, and she's now got like 3 million followers on Instagram and a very successful podcast. And she says, this is where I started. There was no production team. There was none of this. It was just me. And I want you all to remember that it's better to get started than to be perfect, because if you're never going to be perfect, so then you're never going to start. And so that's kind
awesome.
of, I would kind of also follow that mantra of just get started and keep learning along the way, because you're never going to be perfect. But if you can keep learning and keep adding, then you're going to continue to add value to whatever your product is, whatever your service is, and then just you as an individual, you'll keep becoming more valuable.
Awesome. All right. So thank you so much for today. You were
Yeah,
amazing, and I guarantee we could do a whole nother podcast just on history and nerding
we
out,
could.
and be a lot of fun.
Hmm.
Do you have any more social media classes planned coming up, or?
I don't right I don't right now, no, just because the bandwidth I don't have it right now, but I would love to in the fall see if
Okay.
I could get a few more classes
All
there
right.
as
Awesome.
well.
We'll have
Yeah,
to share it
I can
out
keep
when
you
the time
posted.
comes. Yeah, please do.
Yeah,
Please
I'd
keep us
appreciate
posted.
that.
We're going to share all your
Hmm.
social media out there. So give Amanda a follow, please. She has a wealth of knowledge that I'm going to dive into as well later on. So you're not going away so fast on that. But thank you again, Amanda. Thank you for taking your time. And we will join me again next week on Bucks Co-Living. Thank you. Thanks for joining the podcast today. If you want to hear more, click the link below and check out our other episodes. If you're looking to be on the podcast, feel free to reach out to me, DM me, whatever you need to do. I'd love to hear your voice. I'd love to share your stories. Have a good one.